Yes, sir. Yeah, you come. Come, I'm waiting for you here. Mufa pazu. Стизапки пазу.
Familia pues.
Siente betezi na kweli. You know that this is the first shopping mall in Lusaka.
Oh yeah, this one, yeah? Woodlands.
All these old malls came after this one. You know that? Mall number 1. Hey. So.
Buona.
How are you, sir?
I'm okay, sir. How are you?
Acting president there?
Yeah, we were holding the acting president from.
I'm going to give madam.
Yeah.
I think where is the light?
They want us to stand in the
Where is the? He said. But that is not alive.
Tatulea live. Not too low ka gadget. But traffic kaluko.
Yama wenanga bamika. Taka ififintikira chinja ngamba mu politician from politicians amba majorani. Ya mama veteran wali. Ili asijali shirikwa.
Wale amba next.
Okay. Okay. We start with you, Mr. Luwenda. Just what do you make of the continued detention of Patriots for Economic Progress President Sean Tembo?
Well, if their intention is to break Sean, I have to say that Valova idea uma, because Sean is not broken. He's in high spirit and is looking forward to tomorrow for him to be charged. He wants to be charged so that he can vindicate himself. It is just sad that President Hakainde is proving to the whole world that either himself or his handlers are not capable of taking the role of leadership. All of us who have been in leadership know that we're bound to be criticized from time to time. We're bound to be rebuked from time to time. That is unfortunately the calling of a leader, a calling of a politician. And I have to say to Hakainde and his handlers, if he can't withstand the heat, he must get out of the kitchen. If he can't stand the pressure of being a leader, let him resign. Let him go and join people on the pulpit, because maybe those are the ones who are saved from criticism and from ridicule. For us politicians, this is our daily living. On a daily basis, because we impact on the lives of people in many ways, we should be ready to face criticism. People will not always agree with us. And when people express views different from ours, we must not use the law or abuse the law to arrest them. What has happened to Sean is totally uncalled for. What has been happening to many people who have complained many times. It is totally uncalled for, and it only shows that President Hakainde is a hypocrite. And I'm ready to be arrested for calling him a hypocrite, because he says one thing in the morning and his people do another in the evening, and he doesn't stop them. He himself has said many times that he's going to govern this country following the rule of law. He himself has said many times no one should be detained for more than 48 hours without being charged. Sean was picked up on Thursday. He could have been charged on Friday, but they chose not to charge him. And I read today that the spokesperson of the police was saying they didn't charge him because his lawyers were not available. His lawyers were here with him. On Thursday, the lawyers came. They could have charged him, but they chose to go against the word of Hakainde, and Hakainde is quiet about it. If he's not a hypocrite, let him call out the police officers who are abusing the law and going against his instructions. He is police officer number 1 in case he has forgotten. Even if he has IG, he is himself the appointing authority of the IG. He is therefore police officer number 1. He today can call the police and tell them, can you charge Sean? And you'll be charged. If indeed he wants to keep to his word, let him make sure that nobody is detained for more than 48 hours without being charged. Tomorrow morning we shall be here. The PF leadership shall be here tomorrow morning to come and ensure that Sean is charged and that Sean is made ready to go and defend himself. This brings me to another equally important matter, where a person is arrested, the person is taken to the JCC, and the person is not allowed to defend herself. She has appealed to the High Court for her rights to be protected and respected, and yet the JCC has chosen to go ahead and try her in absentia. Article 18 of the Republican Constitution, the Bill of Rights, is very clear insofar as making sure that every person has a fair trial. How can it be called a fair trial at the JCC when the trial starts, when the person they are interviewing, the person they are interrogating is in hospital? How can that be a fair trial? How can it be a fair trial when the person says, you have put cotton wool in my mouth, I can't speak, I'm under oath, please remove the cotton wool from my mouth, you have gagged me, and you say no, we shall ask you to defend yourself with your mouth full of cotton? How will she defend herself? And yet we're saying we're being governed by a president who respects the rule of law. This is hypocritical. Let us ensure that people have access to justice. That's what we're demanding. This defamation law, by the way, I would like to encourage the Minister of Justice who took over from me. There are many officers who returned in the Ministry of Justice. All he has to do is to ask them how much work we had done with regard to repealing the defamation of the President law. President Edgar Lungu instructed the Ministry of Justice to do away with that law because he himself did not agree with how it was being abused. There were a number of people who were arrested under ECL's leadership, and ECL was not happy at all. And he instructed me, he said, if you're going to amend the Public Order Act, surely you cannot return on the statute book the law about defamation of the President. Instead of them now talking about coming up with a law in Parliament to criminalize people blocking the presidential motorcade, which is totally useless law, they should instead be looking at repealing this archaic law of defamation of President. And by the way, should I remind President Hakainde that he himself as opposition leader was totally opposed to this law? How come today he seems to be celebrating the abuse of that law? What is good for the goose must be good for the gander. The fact that this law didn't suit him when he was in opposition, it shouldn't suit him now that he's president. Otherwise, then I'm also going to reiterate what I said, that he's being hypocritical. And we don't want a hypocrite in State House. Those of his people who feel for him, who think that Hakainde must not be challenged, Hakainde must not be criticized, please advise him to leave politics. Let him go and do something else. For as long as he's a politician, for as long as he's president of this republic, his decisions shall be questioned. And when they are questioned, it doesn't mean that he's being defamed. What is defamatory about asking his decisions? What is defamatory about him coming up with a plan that every month he's going to change prices of fuel to make it very difficult for business to plan? If we say that, does that mean that we have insulted him? No, we haven't. We're criticizing his policies. If he doesn't want his policies to be criticized, he must not make any policies. And if he doesn't want to make policies, let him go and run his farm, let him go and run his family, but not the Republic of Zambia. For as long as he's president of the Republic of Zambia, he should be prepared to face criticism from the people that he's superintending over. Thank you. Hi, how are you doing?
Thank you very much. Yes, just to add to what the acting president has said, I think the continued human rights violations in our country is a source of worry. What is more surprising also is that the non-government organization, civil society, that looks out for human rights abuses seem to be quiet. We wonder what threshold they would want this country to reach before they're triggered into action. Everywhere you look, there are human rights violations, and it seems to be by design. Because if you look back during the PF, there were very loud voices to what they termed as human rights violations, whose threshold cannot be compared to what's happening now, and yet the voices were very loud. So we want to say that to civil society, I think this is a wake-up call. Your silence is too loud. What's happening to Sean Tembo is a violation of his rights. It's not very long ago that we had the Human Rights Commission talking about advising the law enforcement agencies not to violate people's rights by detaining them for periods that were longer than was provided for by the law. But this has continued, and this is typical of the UPND government. The first thing President Hakainde talks about is how he's uniting this country, how he's observing the rule of law. And everybody else is quiet. They seem to believe what he says and not what he actually does. So I want to remind the Zambian people that I think we are under a dictatorship, and if we don't nip it in the bud, we are likely to see a worse off situation than this. Coming to the JCC, speaking as a member of parliament and indeed the leader of opposition in the House, we had expressed concern at the composition of the JCC. And we warned the Zambian people that what is going to happen if we ratify members of the JCC, will be a very sad story, because you can see through it. I mean, even a criminal, hardcore criminals, when they're in hospital, they enjoy their rights, they're given their time until they're fully recovered before they appear before the court. The DPP now, hospitalized, who were told she's also bereaved, and yet the JCC decided to proceed and start the hearing, even when they fully know that President Hakainde Hichilema denied a waiver to allow her to speak. As acting president has said, how will she speak when her mouth is guarded? And yet you want to say that President Hakainde Hichilema is governing using the rule of law. So we want to send a warning to the JCC that they must act within the law. Do not abuse people's rights. If at all what you want, or a decision on the outcome of that process, is already predetermined, but at least as an institution there should be some decency with which they're going to undergo the process. Let them undergo a process that will have some semblance of decency, not what we are seeing now. Speaking as an MP, we will not sit and watch this country degenerate to the levels that we are seeing now. The very fact that most of the members of the JCC, going by their CVs, were either old members of the UPND, some were actually current members of the UPND under these guys. We would have expected them, first of all, not to respect their party membership, because most of those are actually lawyers who had built their career over a period of time. So why are they choosing their party membership over the career that they've built? The legal profession to which I belong is a very noble profession. And we expect lawyers and members of the legislation of Zambia and leader profession to act in a certain manner, above certain minimums. But what we are seeing now leaves much to be desired. Yeah, so what's happening at the justice should be a source of worry to everybody, including serving judges. What we are seeing in the judiciary now is total intimidation. Total intimidation. Look at the current case of ECZ. Very, very unfortunate. And yet, when the cases are presented before court with the agency that they deserved, we are seeing dates being pushed forward. What country do we want to have, countrymen and women? What country do we want to have? If the judiciary is going through the intimidation that we are seeing through the same JCC, and they fail to stand up, for Mother Zambia, it's most unfortunate. Then there'll be nothing for us to even talk about. Yeah, so I think my concerns are on the JCC, and now we are beginning to rally members of parliament. We need to question the activities of the JCC. We are now getting more interest in the activities of the JCC, and we are going to analyze activities of individuals. What is very strange, colleagues, is that what's happening to judges today under Hakainde Hichilema will not stop the next leader to treat other judges, including members of the JCC that are mistreating citizens, to be treated under the same one, because we would have accepted it as a norm. And yet this is not what we would have wished for. So we want to say to all those people that have been discharged with these functions, to discharge their functions with diligence. And JCC, please rethink your position. Allow the DPP to appear before you. Create an enabling environment, an environment that is fair. We look at justice as fairness, and not what is happening now. Here, speaking as a member of parliament and as a citizen, there is no confidence in the process that the JCC is undertaking at the moment. I thank you.
Now, something else, please. In keeping with what Sean spoke about, which happens monthly, there is also this monthly routine of changing prices of fuel, which Sean referred to. But besides that, it has become a monthly routine to arrest people on defamation. Every month, there must be 1 or 2 people that are arrested using the defamation of President law. At the rate at which we are going, by the time that Zambians have given up on Hakainde in 2026, he certainly will have arrested more than 60 people, one at least per month. This routine ought to be stopped, and it can only be stopped by you Zambians. If you're going to leave it to us politicians to stop it, we may not do it. Because remember that the politician in Hakainde wanted this stopped when he was opposition, and now he's encouraging it. Now the truth is being shown that he actually was saying that because he just didn't want the law to be applied on him, but he is happy if it's applied on other people. And mind you, it is not only politicians who are being arrested. Many of the other people have been arrested using this law are not even politicians. Young people have been arrested. Drivers, bus drivers, taxi drivers have been arrested using this law. So no one should feel safe in this country. And now this is the reason why wherever you walk, people have to look over their shoulders before they can comment. Even when prices are going high, people are quiet because they are afraid that if I complain, I may be arrested on defamation of the president. Because when you say this man is failing to run this country, he has failed to govern, that's the reason why prices are going up. His people will go and report you in Chizera for you to go and appear in police station in Chizera for defaming the president. So this fight is not only for us, this fight is for every Zambian. Let us all rally together to make sure that this is stopped. Okay, guys. Thank you.